It started off where I would sell to my classmates within the classroom under the desk. I would just pass it. And I did that a few times until a teacher was walking up and down, and she looks, and instead of books like normal students, I had like icing and cupcakes and all kinds of things under my desk. And she was like, "What is this? Where are your books? What's going on?"
Hello everyone, welcome to the Lalit Dhanush Show. Today I have with me a dear friend, Meghna, who runs her own cupcake and pastry place called Dream a Dozen. Over the last 4 years in her journey, she's gone from a home baker to successfully establishing a cloud kitchen, which is super successful. You will see her journey, which is super inspiring and will definitely motivate you to pursue your own dreams and career after you finish this episode. For more such episodes, please do click on the subscribe button below and stay tuned, watch the entire episode and share this one with all your home baker friends. Hello Meghna, welcome to the Lalit Dhanush Show.
Thank you.
How does it feel to be on my show?
It feels great. I think we've been pushing it for a while, so I'm glad I'm finally here.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you came along and you bought this wonderful set of cupcakes. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be really distracted with the cupcakes or I'll be more focusing towards speaking to you. However, for everybody who's watching, you must try these cupcakes. They're absolutely amazing. I've been eating them for the last 2.5 years and never once have I ever been close to even being disappointed. They're super great and I continue to order with them. You will know more about these cupcakes throughout, I think the podcast and Meghna's story as well.
You're very kind. Very kind. Thank you.
So Meghna, your cupcakes look absolutely amazing as always.
Thank you.
They taste amazing. I want to know, where did this amazing story start?
I think what happens for a lot of people choosing entrepreneurship or any such thing, people think that there's like one moment, like one aha moment that changes your life, and suddenly you're like, yeah, this is what I want to do for the rest of my lifetimes. That didn't happen with me.
Okay.
I think that it built over time, and now in retrospect, I can say, yes, these were some pivotal moments that gave me the confidence to take the leap. One of them was probably when I went for my first baking class right after 10th, I think, after 10th or 11th. And I just didn't have anything to do in the summer holiday, so I I went for a baking class because I used to like to eat cakes and cupcakes, and I learned how to make them, and I would come home and make them, and it was the first time in my life where I felt, okay, maybe I'm decent at something. Maybe, this is not a competition, because otherwise everything in school is a competition.
Very true.
And I didn't excel at any of those competitions. So yeah, it started over there, and then when I went back to school and I took it for my friends, then there was a lot of validation over there, and it was the first time in my life that I was getting validation for something that I created. And it just started off like that, and eventually I wrote an accounts project where a girl opened her own bakery, and my accounts teacher was very encouraging. She's like, why don't you teach me also? She was very kind. So yeah, I think that's where I got a little bit of that thought that, okay, maybe this is something that I can do.
Okay, well, I mean, that's great. So you said that you started during college. Did the business part also start during college? Because of course you said you started baking during college, but what about the business part?
I started baking during school.
Okay.
The last 2 years of school, 11th and 12th. The business started in college, where
Okay.
I would actually sell it.
Oh, okay.
So one of my friends said, can you make it for my brother's birthday? I'll pay you for it. I was like, wow. So I think I sold those for 20 rupees.
Nice.
Mini cupcakes, and it started like that. I started keeping a few stalls in apartments, as is the journey of many home bakers. There are flea markets in apartments. Got a lot of encouragement from my neighbors, from family, and that's how it was, one after the other.
Wow. So, I mean, today Dream a Dozen is a brand by itself, because not just because of the quality of product that you're producing. I've heard so many of my friends, especially, I'll tell you, I have a friend called Shashank in Toastmasters. I remember about 6 months ago, he walked up to me and he said, dude, you must check this place out. It's called Dream a Dozen. They're right close to my house. They sell amazing cupcakes. I'm like, Hey, I know that place too. And that's when I soon realized that you were just not a passionate baker by that, but you're also a very headstrong and a passionate entrepreneur, right? Now, let's say, did this dream occur to you that you wanted to get into entrepreneurship back when you were in college? What was your thought process like when you were in your degree?
So in college, they have something called business plan competitions, and that gives you the opportunity to create a plan for your business. And our business was to sell cupcakes. It started off where I would sell to my classmates within the classroom under the desk. I would just pass it. And I did that a few times until a teacher was walking up and down, and she looks, and instead of books like normal students, I had like icing and cupcakes and all kinds of things under my desk. And she was like, "What is this? Where are your books? What's going on?" And it started like that. But because I was not allowed to do that, and to my surprise, I said, okay, sorry, I won't do it, and I sat down. But some of my classmates stood up and they said, why can't she sell? There's so many people promoting different services in college. She should be allowed to. And so that was the beginning where I felt that, okay, I spoke to another professor who was more encouraging. He connected me to the cafeteria, started selling through the cafeteria, started presenting in these business plans. And business plans, they force you to think of the marketing and the finance and the forecasts and all kinds of things, where somewhere along the line we started taking ourselves seriously and saying, this is not just a cupcake business, this can be our career for the rest of our lives.
Wow.
So yeah, it was in college that suddenly, and it was also the time that, you know, we were watching a lot of MasterChef and a lot of Shark Tank, and you know, we may acknowledge it or not, but those things do influence our decision making a lot.
Quite a lot.
So yeah, that's how it started.
Yeah, I definitely vouch for what you're saying, because Shark Tank was also something that I consumed on a very daily basis, and so was MasterChef. The only thing was Shark Tank was more relevant to me because entrepreneurship was what was driving me throughout my college degree days. Now, on the other side, of course, your teacher tried stopping you, but it turned around and worked in your favor. On the other side, what did your parents have to say? Right? Did they say yes immediately, or was there some sort of restriction? How did they take it?
I think I've been very blessed that my parents have been encouraging throughout. There was only a little bit friction at home when I thought that baking can only be done with eggs, and my father said, no, you're not allowed to get eggs at home. You figure it out without eggs. And I had a teacher who told me that you cannot bake without eggs, it's impossible. Eventually that turned into an opportunity where even today we're 100% eggless, and people know us for that, and they trust us because of that. And my dad is like, I told you.
I think it was his aha moment there.
But yeah, that was the only time that there was a little bit of resistance. Otherwise, they've always pushed me to follow my dreams, always encouraged me to take my own decisions, and I couldn't have the little that we've had, the success that we've had, couldn't have been without them at all.
Awesome. And I think it's important to acknowledge the support system that is very important, because no matter how talented you are, what kind of skills you possess, you need people like that around you, right? Be it parents or mentors or teachers. I think even friends for you in that manner stood up for you and actually were able to voice out for you. This is very important, and that's why I keep telling people, surround yourself with the right kind of people, and whatever you want to achieve will become 2x faster.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
So, I also wanted to understand, Meghna, now that you don't use eggs, do people take it by a surprise? Because I clearly can say that's a big USP, because any bakery you go out there, you have an egg section and an eggless section. But here you're still able to match the taste, the fluffiness, the consistency without these eggs. Now, what's the secret, or how do you do it?
I think it's also a little bit of a perception. If you start to understand that people don't eat cakes to eat egg.
Correct.
If you wanted to have egg, you would eat an omelette for breakfast.
Correct. True.
But it's that perception that, okay, eggs make it fluffy and there's no other way to make it that soft. There is definitely a component that egg whites bring, but with the number of recipes that are out there and the type of egg replacements that have come, you can achieve a lot. Maybe not 100%, but I would say even 85 to 90% by just eggless recipes. And once you gain that trust, especially people who only eat eggless, they don't have a doubt also that there may be some mix up over here. They feel so confident, and that amount of trust is so high that they will not go anywhere else.
Correct.
And that's why we're able to retain customers.
And I also feel like people who, if you keep a cupcake with egg and without egg, and
Yeah.
I don't think the distinction is noticeable at all.
Yeah. So people who eat egg, if they like the taste, they don't mind eggless. And people who eat only eggless, they love this. So
Correct.
we're catering to both sides.
Awesome. I also remember, Meghna, for the first time we in fact met, was we shared a stage, in fact the virtual stage during the pandemic for a PR summit where we had a lot of youngsters who were there, just like ourselves. And I was super inspired by what you had to say. And I really thought, this is somebody that I want to know more about. And eventually, because of our common friend Rutuparna, we got to know each other. And since then, I've been such a devoted customer of Dream a Dozen. So let me ask you on the flip side. You've been so inspiring to people around you, and every inspirational personality that I've met, or in whatever way, has found their own inspiration. So who is your inspiration in terms of baking or entrepreneurship? Who do you look up to?
I think in terms of entrepreneurship, my grandmother was very inspiring.
Okay.
She ran a business for 40 years.
Whoa.
In Jaipur, she ran a garment business.
Okay.
And even though we never lived with her, it was only the summer holidays where we would go for a week or two and just see her little factory. And at that time, I mean, I grew up seeing that, so I didn't think it was extraordinary. I was like, yeah, maybe this happens in grandparents' houses. They just have a factory outside. And, I would sit with their workers and they would tell me stories. And it was basically Jaipuri garments, so they would stitch there with the glass and very pretty clothing. Now when I look back and I hear stories about the ups and downs that she had in business, and many times my dad recites it. Just today morning he was telling me one of those things where somebody paid in advance and they made the entire stock, and she only took half the stock and didn't take the other and pay for the other. And that actually put the business in a lot of loss for the next 2-3 years because they had inventory that they couldn't sell at all. And those are very relatable things for me because I understand it may not be the same product, but every business goes through the same type of cycles. So very inspiring, even though she's no more. But she didn't exactly understand what I was doing, but she was always like, you'll do good at whatever you're doing.
It's there in the genes.
It's there. So she thought that I was a chef, and she had read in the newspaper that a chef for the first time got the Padma Bhushan.
Wow.
And so she called me and she was like, I read in the newspaper, you can also get it.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
nice.
so she's very, very, very inspiring person. And in those days, 40 years ago, for a woman to run a business like that, to travel around the country and sell her products, is just unbelievable.
Correct, and that too from the kind of traditional backgrounds that we come from in India.
Rajasthan especially, women are not in the forefront in those families, but yeah, she was I think of her as a lioness.
Wow, that's a very nice comparison. And today I really want to draw some inspiration from this story and see what people watching there, especially young women between their 21 to 28 category. Now, what message could you tell them for all the girls out there? What do you think they should be doing if they want to have a successful career?
I think this is irrespective of girl or boy. You have to be consistent. No matter what you do, whether it is a business or whether you want to study or personal branding or anything or sports, if you don't show up every day for yourself, and even on the days that you feel a little under the weather, even on the days that maybe you had a fight at home, but you still show up, you can do anything you want to do. anything. Nothing is impossible.
Correct.
Once that mindset sets in, and not to say, oh, I'm a woman, society treats me like this, and there are definitely advantages and there are definitely disadvantages, and we do face that on a daily basis. But if you think that you can overcome all of those things, and if consistency is shown, then life will give you everything you want, then there's no stopping you.
Correct. I think that was a brilliant answer, because if small things are done repetitively over a period of time, those small things become a big thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And that could be the goal or dream that you are waiting for. And I think very well put. I also remember reading one of your blogs, about a few months back, 8 months back to be precise, about how you ran your kitchen during Diwali. And I was like, whoa, this is a Herculean task. Even if I was in your position, I wouldn't have been able to do it. Then you had another Diwali season this year, and I remember you telling me over the call saying this year we did more orders, but it was much more peaceful. I was able to manage it, build systems. Now, what was the difference here, Meghna, between your previous years and this year? And then we'll get down deep into it. I have a few more questions.
So it was also related to the pandemic. What happened was we moved into a larger space 20 days before COVID hit.
Oh God.
So we were going to have our launch in the same week that the first lockdown happened. And suddenly we were like really shaken up, and we were closed for 6 weeks. And as Diwali season approached, we realized that corporates were saying, okay, we will give you our business, but only if you ship around the country, because it's completely work from home now. And we had never made products like that were long shelf life. We had never explored packaging. We had never done the logistics before, but it was a need of the hour. If you wanted to hit the jackpot, that is Diwali, then you needed to figure out those systems. Now, being a business person, when an opportunity knocks at your door, you don't say no.
Correct.
You figure it out.
Very true, very true.
Whether you know how to do it or you don't know how to do it, you
should.
say yes. So that's what happened. And some things didn't go as well as they were supposed to, especially with the logistics. We got into partnership with the wrong courier people. They started blackmailing us by the end of it. It was just a very, very difficult time, and it extended till Christmas, where I couldn't do our Christmas season justice because I was still not over the backlog of Diwali. It was unfortunate, but it was also a mistake that we learned from. And this year, the processes and the number of people and everything, the resources in terms of infrastructure, we invested in more resources so we could expand our capacity. And it was so smooth, it was weird, like I didn't know what to do. I was like, is there no problem? Is there no problem today? Is there no problem? And our ops manager, she was like, have some faith in us. But you get so used to firefighting all the time that if something's not wrong, you're like, now what?
True.
Yeah.
I think I can vouch for it, because a lot of times when you actually build a system, you're actually putting it into automation, right? You're figuring it out as to how from step 1 to step 5 can happen smoothly.
Yes.
And the best part about this is you can only do it by going through bad phases and making bad decisions, right? Which comes to my next point is how important is learning, be it for any individual in their career or even for an entrepreneur who's trying to pursue something like what you are doing today.
Learning, there's no limit. There's no limit to learning, and learning is not only in the number of degrees that you have. I would say, it's arguable, but it's barely in the number of degrees you have. Learning is more outside of the classroom, and just like more than textbooks, it's self-explanatory. Because especially as an entrepreneur, you're learning so many things on a daily basis from what you're doing, and also you need to step out. So we were talking about it earlier that I did a course from IIM Bangalore that is for women entrepreneurs, and within the same size of business, they have an X to Y range that you have to be eligible within that size.
Okay.
which means that you are suddenly in a cohort of more than 100 people who have businesses like yours. So I learned so much. I went back to class, I had case studies, we had assignments. I was like, oh my god, I haven't done assignment for 5 years. And I had just not done it for 5 years, but the other ladies had not done it for 15 years, 20 years. They were ladies
Whoa.
who were much older than I was. But just looking at them, their learning never stops. So why should our learning stop? We're so much younger. It can be through the content you consume. People used to say that you're the food that you eat. I think that you're the content you consume. In today's age, podcasts like this, if you're inspired by entrepreneurship, you should listen to podcasts, watch Shark Tank, you should read books. You should just consume things to mold yourself into the person you want to be.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think you put it so well, because people actually avoid this. Some people think, oh, my mobile phone is a distraction. No, it's not, until and unless what you're consuming is absolutely garbage.
Yeah.
Right? If you change that out, that same garbage can become a manure, a fertilizer for your growth.
Yeah.
And eventually you start growing to such a level that people will only look up to you and say, hey, how are you getting there? Can I also get there? And they'll start seeking inspiration, right?
Yeah. I don't come from a pastry background. I don't. I made myself do some internships, but I came from BCom honors. Nobody in my family is from the F&B industry at all. But if you look at my Instagram, it's full of cake. If you look at the books I read, it's just you can mold yourself into whoever you want to be from whichever background you are. We are a little bit more privileged, but there are people who don't come from such privileged backgrounds and they become amazing. So why not us?
Very true.
Yeah.
Can you just share a couple of suggestions, maybe of a few books that can just hit your head right away, or maybe a couple of Facebook pages or Instagram pages that you might follow that gives good content for people in their career? Anything, you have anything on top of your mind?
So in terms of books, I mainly focus on entrepreneurship related. There are two books by Howard Schultz. One is called Pour Your Heart Into It, and the other one is called Onwards. Howard Schultz was one of the founding members of Starbucks. Absolutely changed my career. It just made me pivot my thinking completely and inspired me a lot. So that of course is because I'm from the F&B industry, but I think in general it's very inspiring. Also the book by, I suddenly can't remember the name, the one on Nike.
Phil Knight's book, right?
Yes, Phil Knight's.
It's what dog? It's
Shoe Dog.
Shoe Dog. Yeah.
Shoe Dog. Yes. That's also a very good book to read.
Yes.
Yeah, these three books I would say.
Yeah, I can definitely vouch for Phil Knight's book. I've been through that as well.
Yeah.
Beautiful book. I've seen the documentary. So inspiring, because Adidas was literally at the top of its game back in the 1970s. And a specific move that they made with Michael Jordan literally pivoted them to become one of the top sneaker players, because they were into running, right? They were into running shoes, and now all of a sudden, if you're into that athletics, and now if you have to move on to a game like basketball, it's a completely different ball game, and they were able to do it, roping in possibly the best player to ever do it. And I'm a big basketball buff, so I know all of this.
It's a sentiment. They sold the sentiment, just that just do it. Or even Starbucks, they sold a sentiment that you can come to a place that's not your house, it's not your office, and you can spend many hours here, feel comfortable, have a meeting, work, do whatever you want, but it's the third place.
Correct.
And you can only survive if you sell a sentiment. I'm a true believer of that.
Very true, because human beings are people who run themselves based on emotion.
Yeah.
And emotions and sentiments are it's like brother and sister attached. And the moment you start selling emotions, logic will automatically take a backseat, and that's when you actually become successful in whatever you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Meghna, now I want to understand that you've told us so many inspiring things. You've told us your little tidbits of success. I want to understand how important is networking, because you spoke about this cohort that you had with Goldman Sachs.
Yes.
And you also mentioned to me that that network of women entrepreneurs of 100 odd people, today you can rely on that network for literally any kind of feedback, or let's say you want some sort of help, they're always there. So I want to ask you, why is network important in one's career, and how has it played a significant role in your career and life?
So what happened when I worked for a food tech startup and I wanted to resign. And once I had given my resignation, I wanted to figure out whether I should do a pastry course or should I say work in some place and then start a business and choose the entrepreneurship route instead of a pastry route. I didn't know how to take that decision. So I literally just picked up the phone, called people, and whoever agreed to meet me from the F&B industry, whether they were chefs, whether they were business people, whether they were chefs in the hot kitchen or the cold kitchen, it didn't matter. Every day of that month, I met someone.
Wow.
Someone or the other I met.
Wow.
Just to understand what their perspective was, and you will be surprised by the number of people who want to help young people. Sometimes we're just scared to pick up the phone or type that message because of the fear of rejection.
Correct.
That really pushed me to make a decision about not choosing to do a pastry course and simply doing it enough to be a means to the end until I could afford hiring our own pastry chefs.
Wow.
Today, out of that knowledge that I accumulated over some time, for 3.5 years in the business, I was so consumed by everyday business that I was not coming out and meeting people that I wanted to, or doing those college events where I could see inspiring people. So I was like in my own little bubble. And then I felt uninspired. I felt like I didn't know who to ask if I got stuck. And sometimes you'll be surprised that an entrepreneur also wants a boss. They want somebody to write to say, what do I do now?
Correct.
You know, so then I applied for this 10K Women Entrepreneur Program. Any sort of network. It doesn't have to be a formal, informal. I mean, formal is always easier because you have access to different type of people who are not within your circle. But even if it is your postgraduate network from people who've done an entrepreneurship course with you, very valuable because they can give you insights without holding back, because they don't feel threatened by you. If you go to your peers in the industry, they will tell you so much, but they might not tell you a little bit more. They won't tell you the numbers, they won't tell you the secrets. But when you're speaking to people from different industries, I'll give you an example. I was speaking to one of my seniors and I was telling him that, you know, it's appraisal time for our employees. And we need to do something apart from just increasing their salary, because they need to feel valued, but it can't be so expensive for the company every time to give them a 30% raise.
Correct.
So he said, you know, we had the same problem. He has a marketing agency, totally different industry. He's like, we bought some insurance and we did other type of things. And it was like a light bulb for me, because I was like, yeah, we can also add value without it being so expensive for the company. Now I'm trying to figure out how we can do that. So small things become very valuable when you have people to lean on. And that's why networking can open more doors for you than degrees can.
Oh yeah, I think very valuable again, because networking is super underrated.
Super underrated, yeah.
And people think that if I, like you said, you know, they're scared of being rejected.
Yeah.
Second is, what if you appear to be less of a fool?
Yeah.
In fact, I actually tell people that if you actually seem a little lesser, it's fine, because people will actually want to help you because they see themselves in you,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Like back when they were younger, they were also struggling. Every successful businessman was always a Kickstarter who struggled and fought through the process and then eventually fixed it.
Yeah.
So I think very valuable there, Meghna, because today many people think, hey, I don't know anything. What will that person think of me? But it's just about putting yourself out there. Hey, it doesn't matter. You can think of me. You will get rejected. Let's
Yeah.
face it. Some mentors or somebody who you don't know might just say, hey, I don't have the time.
You know, you never know who will reply to you. I finished reading the book on Dunkin' Donuts and I was so inspired. I finished reading it at like 1:30 a.m. I was so inspired. I looked up the person who wrote the book on LinkedIn. He's now retired, maybe 70 plus, must be multi-millionaire if not billionaire. And I wrote to him and I said, I'm just feeling so inspired by a book. I had nothing to ask. I just wanted to say how much he inspired me. And he replied in like 5
Wow.
minutes. And I was like, oh my God, did this just happen? So I'm not necessarily a fangirl of like Hollywood or anything, but these kind of entrepreneurs, he replied and he said, Meghna, I'm so glad that I added value to you. And I said, if you visit Bangalore, please come, we'll feed you some cupcakes. He said, yeah, India is a beautiful country, I'd love to visit.
Nice.
So that thing gave me energy for the rest of the week. You never know who will reply, who will pick up your phone.
Very
You never
true.
know if you don't try.
Very true. And it's just about your first step.
Yeah.
And the first one leads to a validation of your second one, and
Yeah.
then you keep moving on. On that note, Meghna, I want to know, you've been putting out some amount of content on your Instagram page. I've also read a few of your blogs. And this, I believe, is your way of giving back
Yeah.
to the people around you. What does giving back mean to you, and why do you do it?
I started something called a paid forward program. I just stopped it for this season because it was Diwali season. But around the time of the second wave, it was just something that many people would call, or someone like a neighbor would say, you know, my daughter is very interested in baking, can she speak to you? And it was very informal. And sometimes in such an informal setting, both parties don't get the most out of it. So I said, okay, let's formalize it. And by formalize, I don't mean that I'm going to charge money or anything. I would say every Sunday, an hour of my time, just write to me with the questions that you have and a background about what you do, so that I can look you up and see in what way I can add value.
Wow.
So that the 60 minutes are most fruitful for you and me.
Correct.
And so I started that, and the idea is just to encourage more young people to get into entrepreneurship. There are so many smart people within my own friend circle who are actually leaving the country. There's so much brain drain. You will face the same thing, right? Everybody's going abroad and contributing to other economies. But if we believe that we can create a change here, then why not?
Yeah.
Why not? If somebody can do Warli art and make a living for herself, why not?
Yeah.
You know? So I did that. I spoke to photographers, I spoke to artists, to crafters. It was so nice to see the number of different things that are out there versus your typical engineering and MBBS. That everyone knows the path,
True.
but for this, people don't know the path.
True.
So, yeah.
And I think one of the most important things here is that technology plays the pivotal role, right? Because you have that technology, because you have social media on your phone, and just at a click of a button, in an instant, in a millisecond, you can reach anywhere to anybody across the countries. Back in the day, I mean, it made more sense 40, 50 years ago when our parents were in their prime time, and, you know, if they wanted a job, yes, because they were looking for a lifestyle, they were looking for a roof on their head,
Yeah.
a car to drive. But today we are blessed with all of these
Yes.
things, and why should you actually go abroad?
Yeah.
If you make your mind up, you can study that degree here while doing your part-time job or a freelance career, and this is something that I keep advising. So I think very well said on that as well. So Meghna, I want to understand, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? What's the dream? What's the biggest dream you possibly have?
5 years is too short a time to say my biggest dream.
Okay.
But I think I hopefully have another 40, 50 years of my working life left.
Nice.
And the dream is to see Dream a Dozen, my baby, around the world. That's the dream.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And on that note, Meghna, I think this is one of the most amazing podcasts that I've had, because I've seen just in the last 2 years that I've known you, how you've transcended from one level to another with such ease, such panache. And I want to say that to you, that, you know, I'm inspired in many
It's very
ways.
kind.
And I want to know that, you know, the world out there, just like how you want this to become a global brand, I'm sure your story will also become a massive global story. Men and women across countries will look up to it and say, well, you know, this is something that I want to chase, and become their own authentic selves. Thank you once again for coming onto my show.
Thank you for
I hope
having me.
I hope you had some fun.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Lalit. What you're doing is so amazing. I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the podcast as you release them because of the kind of people you told me that you're bringing on board. And just sending lots of love and luck to everybody watching. And Yeah, call if you need anything.
Yeah, and guys, one more time, please do check out Dream a Dozen. They have a wonderful page. You can also check Meghna. I'll be tagging her throughout the podcast, so check out her Instagram handle. And if you have any questions, if you want to reach out, I'm sure she's more than just a baker or an entrepreneur. She's out there to help you. And you got to taste these cupcakes because they're absolutely lip smacking good. On that note, thank you once more,
Thank you.
Meghna.
Thank